Nathan, that was just in case you had me confused with Bob Schieffer. Appreciate everyone coming out this evening and for a second go at the last debate of the 2008 presidential primary season. I watched it in the Phoenix airport last night. Actually, I watched the rerun at whatever time, must have been midnight Eastern time. So it was interesting, and it was particularly interesting to see how many people in the airport, granted not much else to do, the Phillies-Dodgers game was over, were watching, were really caught up and paying attention to what was going on. So obviously, as your presence here attests, people are concerned, people are interested in this election campaign. What we want to do this evening is kind of take the debate as it unfolded last evening and put it into a South Carolina context, not spin, but context, and relate some of the issues that were discussed in ways that might be most relevant to South Carolina. There are obviously issues of the economy, taxes, jobs, education. We heard all of those things last night. Bob Schieffer said, let's try to tell the people something that they haven't already heard. I'm not sure that he entirely succeeded. But let me introduce the two members of this debate in very brief, because I believe in brief introductions. Don Fowler has held top posts in the Democratic Party in South Carolina and nationally as chairman of the Democratic National Committee. Most notable, he was chairman from 1995 to 1997. He continues to play a prominent role. He was an at-large member of the Democratic National Committee. He was a delegate to the Democratic Convention. He's a member of the DNC's Rules and Bylaws Committee, and he is also a professor of political science here at the university. Glenn McCall is the Republican National Committeeman from the South Carolina Republican Party. He is also, if I've got all of these titles correct, the York County Chairman and second Vice Chairman of the State Republican Party. Became a National Committeeman in May. He is the first black committeeman ever elected from South Carolina for the Republican Party, and only the second from the South. With all respect, I think that's admirable, and I wish we would all get away from firsts and seconds in that regard. But it's worth noting. What I thought I would do this evening is pick up on some of the discussion as it unfolded last evening and get these two gentlemen, Mr. McCall and Dr. Fowler, to respond to it. And one of the first issues that came up, of course, was the state of the mortgage collapse, as it were, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and all that has ensued under this rather scandalous situation of subprime lending. And so we had Senator McCain last night saying, talking about the bailout or the rescue, choose your euphemism. We've allocated $750 billion, he said. Let's take 300 of that billion and go in and buy those home loan mortgages and negotiate with those people in their homes so that they can afford to pay the mortgage and stay in their home. Senator Obama said that from his perspective, he felt it was important to help families right away by providing them a tax cut, a middle-class tax cut for people making less than $200,000. I thought it was $250,000, but we'll get beyond that. And allow them to access their IRA accounts without penalty. And then he said, I agree with your idea, Senator McCain, that we've got to help homeowners, but he said, I disagree in how to do it, suggesting that Senator Kane's approach is a giveaway to the banks if we're buying full price for mortgages that now are worth a lot less. Mr. McCall, is he right in that regard?
Well, first, thank you for coming, and I'm excited to be here, and Dr. Fowler, to be with you, and we had a great time Sunday on Talk Radio. I agree with Senator McCain. I'm a senior executive with Bank of America in Charlotte, living, as was mentioned, York County and Rock Hill. So I'm well aware of the problems that we're having, but most importantly, I agree with Senator McCain. As a bank, we really don't want the home back. we would prefer to keep the borrower in the home. This summer, as you know, we actually, the government provided Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, I think, with $300 billion to actually buy up mortgages. So I would agree with Senator McCain, we need to act on that to keep families in their home, renegotiate their contracts, and I think as the economy improves, definitely the values of the properties will go through. And we have to remember, even though it hurt us all, we feel it, but we're in a cycle, and we go through cycles. So I would agree with Senator McCain.
How critical is it here in South Carolina? Have we seen the worst, or is it more to come?
No, I don't think we've seen the worst, not only in South Carolina, but across the country. There's still a lot that we're going to have to go through. Correction in the economy. We have to get liquidity back into the market, and we have to get those believing in our stock market. And I think Senator McCain, and not getting too far off the original question, but I think there was a tax implication there. I would agree with Senator McCain that we have to lower our capital gains rate. We have to lower our corporate income tax rate that would make us competitive, not nationally, but also here in South Carolina for corporations moving in. Also, it would bring in investment capital, foreign direct investment capital into our stock market.
Dr. Fowler?
There was an attempt, while Congress was still in session, to do much more cheaply what Senator McCain now wants to do that will cost $200 or $300 billion to go in and buy those mortgages back from the individual mortgage holders. And that was to empower the courts to adjust the mortgage payments and the mortgage rates. The court system is set up to do just that. It's a system that's in place, and if we had authority to do that, it could be instantaneously implemented. If you take Senator McCain's proposal, you would have to probably change the law, and you couldn't get that done for some time in the future. The Republicans blocked that proposal when Congress was in session, denying individual mortgage holders from going to the courts and letting judges adjust those, which is a practice that has taken place and has been quite effective for a long period of time, but this particular application is not authorized. So, no, I don't support what Senator McCain has suggested. It might become necessary. It might become necessary at some time, but we'll have to wait until we see what this infusion of money, capital to the banks, what effect that will have by purchasing preferred stock and giving the banks liquidity and money so that they can begin again to loan to individual businesses and individual people, and therefore put more money in the market and indeed can loan to each other. So right at first, my inclination to Senator McCain is it's a day late and a dollar short. And we need to try what we have, and we should have permitted judges to adjust the terms of those subprime mortgages. It's been a much quicker, much faster, and a much cheaper way to approach that.
Can I respond to that? Really, we do that today. If you're in bankruptcy, you go to the court, the judge has the power, and I agree with Dr. Fowler, where they can negotiate the rates. But we don't want that carte blanche. You shouldn't want it, especially you young people. What that does, if we allow a judge, anyone that's delinquent on their mortgage, you can go to the court, throw yourself at the mercy of the court and expect the judge to lower your rate. It's going to impact each and every one of us because it will drive up the cost of capital for loans. So the next mortgage that you get, we're going to have to cover it's like our medical care. Those that go to the emergency room, those of us that have insurance, we're paying for those that go without. It would be the same. It would drive up the cost of borrowing for us, our kids, and our grandkids. If we carte blanche give judges the power to do that, where they do have the power to do that today when someone filed bankruptcy.
But that train has left the station, hasn't it? We're not talking about judges. You were saying that was, in your view, a better alternative. But
Yeah.
this movement is already going, that we're getting into the bank bailout, and the president has talked about
Let me
it.
point out that all of this money that the banks are getting now is not contingent on bankruptcy. I don't know why the individual mortgage holders should have to go into bankruptcy to get a judge to deal with this very difficult problem, which the mortgage lenders mostly cause. That's a double standard, and I don't think it's fair to give to the banks and not give some relief to the individual mortgage holders. And that's exactly what this bifurcated system does right now.